The last few weeks we've been talking about outcasts. And this week is kind of the epitome of the outcast in the Bible. Because, you have your kind of garden quality outcasts. You know, the kid that goes to his dad and says, "Dad, give me all my inheritance right now because I can't be bothered to wait till you die." And then goes and spends it all and comes back saying, "Hey, you going to take me back?" That kind of outcast. Or the tax collectors. You know, the people that robbed their fellow countrymen and got themselves rich on other people's suffering. Those kind of outcasts. Or just the kind of garden variety outcasts that Jesus dealt with all the time, the people who were known as sinners that Jesus welcomed and helped all the time. But this guy that we have today, the guy, one of the guys on the cross next to Jesus, he was not a good person. Romans executed kind of the worst kind of criminals, and the word there is criminal, but it literally means doer of evil. That's what the word literally means. Like a person who does evil all the time. Somebody that was completely corrupt. That's who this guy is. And he's being publicly executed. And the other criminal kind of acts the way we expect these guys to act. Right? He says to Jesus, "Oh, so you're the Messiah? Well, why don't you just save yourself and us too while you're at it? Because isn't that what the Messiah does? He's just as powerful and can do whatever he wants to do." And then we have this guy who somehow is able to see Jesus for who he really is. And this is a really amazing thing, because nobody else is really seeing Jesus for who he is at this moment. If you think about it, all the people that have been following him, all the disciples, all his wider community of followers, they're gone. They're gone. They've taken off. And here's this guy who says, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus is not looking very much like a king. Right? He is dying an excruciating death at the hands of the Romans. It looks like everybody else thinks, and it certainly looks like this is it. This is one more guy who claimed to be the Messiah, and the Romans are going to kill him, and that's just the way it always happens. And he'll be forgotten before next week is over. And somehow, this criminal, this evildoer, can see that Jesus is actually bringing in his kingdom on the cross. That this is how God's kingdom is entering into the world. That it doesn't come in with angels with flaming swords coming in to kill all the Romans, but it comes in with a broken man dying on the cross to show God's love for a broken world. That's how God's kingdom shows up. And maybe it's only an outcast that can see that. Maybe it's only somebody that's been so far removed from the rest of human community, so alone, so desperate, so broken himself, and so evil too. This is a guy who's done terrible things. Terrible things have probably been done to him, but he has done terrible things. That's why he's getting crucified. He has done terrible things. Somebody so far outside of human community, he looks at Jesus and he can say, this is the only way the world's going to be made whole. This is the only way that we're really going to recognize God's love for us. And he can see it and claim it. And the thing is I think for us, it tells us that it's not about that criminal. If you read a lot of sermons on this text, it seems like a lot of people want to go to a lot of extra work to say that there was something especially praiseworthy about this guy. That even though he was terrible, even though he was a horrible person, at the end of his life, he came to the greatest faith. And that's why Jesus said to him, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." Nobody else gets to go to paradise instantly. Everybody else has to wait. But this guy, because his faith is so wonderful, he gets in the same day. That seems like an awful stretch to me. Because it's not about the criminal. It's not about that guy on the cross. It's about forgiveness. It's about the love. It's about the mercy that Jesus has to offer. And Jesus is just offering that while he is dying on the cross, while Jesus is suffering physically and emotionally and mentally. He is deep in his own suffering, and he looks through that haze to see somebody else in need, and he offers that forgiveness. Because that's just who Jesus is. And if you think about it, that's what Jesus does throughout the whole story that we see in the Gospels. Jesus, no matter what situation he himself is in, he is giving an example to us to be bearers of mercy and forgiveness and love. So when he's really tired after a long day of walking with his disciples, when he's in the middle of nowhere in Samaria, and a Samaritan woman shows up, somebody that a good Jewish rabbi would normally not even talk to. He's tired, he's worn, and he's thirsty. He spends a huge amount of time talking with her. Longest conversation he has in the Gospels, even though he was probably worn out. Because that's just the way that Jesus operated. Or you think about the time in Matthew chapter 14 where Jesus is healing people and teaching, and the disciples around, and they're all worn out. They had the crowds pressing on them. They're just beat. And Jesus says, "Come on, we need to get away. We'll get away for a little while. We'll go off to a place all by ourselves. We'll take a little rest." And of course, what happens is that the crowd follows. And Jesus says, "Hey, it's my day off. Don't bother." Right? Isn't that what he says? No, he doesn't. He says, "Okay, look at all these people that have need. Let's bless them. Let's heal. Let's feed them." So that's the way Jesus operated. That's the way that he lived. So when we look at this story of this guy, this criminal on the cross, it really is true. It really is true that it offers us the example that if you're feeling like you're on the outside, if you're feeling like an outcast, it is never too late. God is always reaching out, always. See, the thing about this guy is, unlike the son who comes back that spent all his dad's money, he's still around. He's saying, "Dad, I'll work for you. Dad, I'll make it up." Or Zacchaeus, the tax collector. Zacchaeus, the tax collector, says, "You know what? If I've cheated anybody, I'm paying them back. I'm already doing it. I'm paying people back if I cheat them. I'm giving half my money to the poor. I'm doing these good things." This guy on the cross, he is never going to do a single good thing in his next 5 minutes of life that he has. He's not. He can't do anything else. All he can do is receive. All he can do is receive the love and forgiveness that Jesus has to offer. Because at the end of the day, that is what it's about. That's what it was about for the lost son and Zacchaeus too. It was the love of Jesus that transformed their lives. It's not earning that. It's not changing in order to be worthy of that. And that's where we even get confused with the guy on the cross. Where all these people that write these things say, well, there was something just wonderful about his faith, something extraordinary. His faith is the same as yours and mine. It's the faith that says, I know that Jesus loves me. It's the faith that says, I know that I have forgiveness. It's the faith that says, I know where I can find life. Thanks be to God.